Hello guys, welcome to a new video. My name is Natasha if you guys are new to this channel. Today I am going to be talking about my favorite books of 2024 as we start the Bookmas series. I am so excited to do this. This is my first year of doing Bookmas and today is day one of Bookmas, and my gosh, 2024 has gone by so fast. At least the second half of 2024 went by super fast and I'm just fascinated. But all to say, I did not read as much books as I wanted to this year, but it's fine. I had a great reading year. I found really great books that we're going to be talking about. So I have my laptop right here. My books are behind me. I'm just going to be showing you guys the cover of the books and I'm just going to be talking about it. So we're basically just girls who are going to be yapping about my favorite books. So I hope you guys are comfy because I'm trying to get comfy myself. I'm wearing this really cute sweater vest that I got last year. This is so cute and I love wearing this every Christmas time. So we're going to be talking about all my favorite books this year. I don't know how many times I have to repeat that, but the first book, and these are not in any particular order. This is just, I was just looking through my bookshelf and I was just like picking out some of the books that I really loved reading this year. So again, in no particular order, the first book I'm going to be talking about is Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. This book is still engraved in my head. I read this book in the beginning of the year. I think this was my second read of the year because I had a really slow start to the beginning of the year because I was super duper busy. For the first half of this year, I was very busy. One of my favorite reads to come off the first half of the year was Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. So this is basically your typical Abby Jimenez book and I love this book so much. It follows Jacob and Brianna. So them are doctors, they work in the same hospital and basically Brianna's brother is having health issues and Jacob steps in to help her with her brother's health issues, and after deciding that he will be helping Brianna's brother with his health issue, they started to fake date to help Jacob with a situation that he has to go through with his own family, and so they fake date to help Jacob through that. And one of the most memorable things about this book for me is the anxiety representation in this book because I think that the anxiety rep was top tier. I absolutely loved it. I relate a lot to Jacob, who was the anxiety rep in this book, and I thought it was done so well. It was very realistic. Nothing was too dramatized. I think it was just the right amount of representation that we need in a book and I really loved it. Now the second book that we're going to be talking about is another Abby Jimenez book and that is Just for the Summer. That is her new release of the year and I think I read this book in, I want to say April, and oh my goodness, this book still lives in my mind up until today. We follow Emma and Justin. The premise of the book is Emma and Justin, they both have this kind of cursed where both of them, whenever they break up from a relationship, the other person finds their soulmate after dating them, so they feel like they're cursed, and so they struck up a deal where they will be dating each other. I don't know if I could say like fake date, but they struck up a deal. They were going to date each other for how long was it, like four weeks, a month I think, to somehow break the curse. But yeah, it just follows that plot and I think it's like it's so unique and it feels very rom-commy. Again, whenever I read an Abby Jimenez book, I never really look for like realistic anything really. I just love reading her books because it feels like watching a early 2000 rom-com and I just love the vibe. So That is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez, another one of my favorites and one of my most memorable reads of the year. Next one is Reckless by Elsie Silver. Now, if you guys know and if you guys have been following me throughout my reading journey this year, I talked about how I picked up Elsie Silver's Chestnut Spring series this year again because last year I started Flawless, but I don't think Flawless was for me. But this year I decided to take a chance on Chestnut Springs, and I bought the second book, which was Heartless, and which we will get to in a second. But we're gonna be talking about Reckless, the fourth book in the series, and oh my goodness. Tell me, I love Theo Silva. Right as I start the book, the first sentence of the book, I was just like, I was so attached already. This book follows Summer's sister Winter from the first book. We follow her throughout her journey in parenting as a single parent, and right in the beginning of the book, she has an accidental pregnancy. And then we also follow Theo Silva, who is I forget. I think Theo is mentored by Reth from the first book. I hope I'm saying that right. But we follow both Theo and Winter on figuring out co-parenting and all of that, and just figuring stuff out, figuring their relationship. And I just love Theo because his effort, I'm sorry, that is just, Theo Silva is the standard. Thank you very much. We also follow how Winter is not like, I don't know, I somehow feel like I relate to Winter because she's very closed off and she's trying to like mend her relationship with her sister Summer because of their upbringing and their toxic parent. And basically both Winter is like, they're in this book, there's just a lot of character development, which I really love, and I think Winter's character development is one of the best character developments I've ever read in a book, and I absolutely loved it. Again, one of my top books of the year. And speaking of Elsie Silver, the next book on this list of my favorite books of 2024 is Heartless by Elsie Silver, and this one is the second book in the Chestnut Spring series. Again, I said I started reading Elsie Silver again this year, and I started with, obviously wanted to go in order of the series, and so I picked up the second book, Heartless. It follows Kate and Willa. Kate is Rhett's brother from the first book, and Willa is Summer's best friend from the first book. And so basically Willa is nannying for Kate's son for the summer, and it just goes from there. I say more? Everybody already knows the series. Everybody already knows Kate and Willa's relationship and how much we all collectively love Kate and Willa. And I just feel like Willa is the ball of bold sunshine, and I just love her personality. I'd pay to be Willa because honestly, I love her energy. I love her personality. I'd love to be her. I love Luke, which is Kate's son. And I love the dynamic between the two of them. The banter was so good. Mind you, it's been gloomy the whole day, and thunders are going off in the background. So moving on, the next book on my favorite books list of 2024 is Magnolia Parks Into the Dark, which is the third book following Magnolia Parks and BJ's point of view, but it is the fifth book that is currently out now by Jessa Hastings. Oh my goodness. First of all, if you guys can see the book right over here, it is a brick of a book. Last year when I started the Magnolia Park series, the first book, I said that it was a brick, but just look at the third book. I don't even know. It's a whole house. It's a whole building. It's thick. Okay, I think it's like around 700 pages or so. Magnolia Parks Into the Dark, one of my favorite book series ever. I feel like if you're looking for romance, if you're looking for fun, lighthearted romance, Magnolia Parks may not be for you, but if you're looking for emotional depth, if you're looking for character development, if you're looking for drama and just like rich people drama, I highly recommend Magnolia Parks. And it's set in London, so it was filling me because I was in I don't know, I was just like in a British mood. I was listening to One Direction by then, and I was just like rediscovering my love for them, so I was just like in a British mood, if that makes any sense. Anyways, Magnolia Parks Into the Dark, the third book from Magnolia and BJ's point of view. Absolutely loved it. I loved BJ's character development in the third book. If you guys have read the first two books from Magnolia and BJ's point of view, you may or may not love BJ, but I personally didn't like BJ in the first two books of their point of view. But in this book, it just changed my perspective because I just have to read Magnolia Parks Into the Dark. The next book in this list is Hello Stranger by Catherine Center. I read this book while I was on vacation. I started this book right as I was taking off to Bangkok for vacation, and I finished the book on the plane ride home from Bangkok. So it was a very fun time. Absolutely loved it. I read it at the poolside, read it at the beach, and it was just a really, really fun time. Wasn't really looking for anything like emotional. Follow our main character Sadie. She is a facial artist, so she basically paints faces, and one day she has like, I think she had like a seizure at the end of a road or something, and she was brought to the hospital, and they found out that she had, what was it? I forgot. There was like this brain disorder in her, and that she needed to undergo surgery, and so she had that surgery. And then coming up of after the surgery, she really couldn't see because like all of the faces that she looked at was like disheveled. There's a subplot of romance, so I feel like Catherine Center is the type of author that is kind of like Emily Henry, that is more women's fiction than it is romance. But in this book, it has a subplot of romance that I absolutely loved. Basically, she mistakes these two people in this book, and we just follow her trying to like rely on her other senses. But the whole entire book was just like very, very much entertaining. Loved it. It was something that I've never read before in a book, so I highly recommend Hello Stranger by Catherine Center. If you guys haven't read it already, it is amazing and I absolutely loved it. The next book on this list is from the Windy City series, and it is the third book. Mind you, I did not read the entire series. I did not start from book 1. I skipped book 1. Really, I started from book 4, and I'm working my way up. So I read the fourth book, and then I read the third book. But we're gonna talk about the third book before I go into the fourth book. So basically, the next book is Caught Up by Liz Tomford. I loved Caught Up. I've never been a sports girly before. I used to play sports when I was younger, when I was in high school, but that was about it. I didn't really follow any like sports team, didn't really watch a lot of sports either growing up. But starting the Windy City series, that was my first, I think, sports romance. And let's talk about the third book before we go into the fourth book, because I have a lot to say about the fourth book. Basically, in the third book, we follow Kai and Miller. So Kai is the older brother to Isaiah, and Miller is their coach's daughter. Yeah. And basically in this third, I almost dropped my laptop. Basically in this third book, we find out that Kai has a son. Kai is trying to like navigate on being a dad and then also as a baseball player. And we follow Miller, who is, as I said, the coach's daughter. And Kai is known as a single dad, that he has a thing with not being able to keep around nannies because he has very high standards for his son. And so one day, the coach, his daughter came back home for the summer because she was having like this career burnout. So she decided to come back home to her dad for this time period of the summer and just decided to spend her summer there with her dad. But she already established that she won't be there long. She will be leaving by the end of the summer because she needs to go back to her career and all of that. And so that's basically what it is. And because of Kai's reputation of not being able to keep up with his nanny, his coach decided to hire his daughter to babysit for his player's son. And so basically it reminds me a lot of Heartless, but I feel like Heartless by Elsie Silver, but I feel like in Caught Up we have so much emotional depth, so much character development, and I absolutely loved it. I feel like I really did take my sweet time reading this book. I don't know how long I read this book, but I did read this in I think I read this in the fall, I think the beginning of fall, and it was just like it was just a great time reading it, and I really enjoyed reading Caught Up. It was so good. I loved Kai and I loved Miller. And the whole time throughout the book, Miller was just like trying to figure out what she's going to do with her career. And then we also find how Kai is trying to navigate on being like a full-time dad, but also trying to navigate his career and trying to decide on what's best for his son. And the protectiveness he has for his son is just absolutely amazing. His parenting for his son, absolutely amazing. Absolutely enjoyed, and I'm just in love with that book. But again, that's Caught Up, the third book from the Windy City series. And now let's jump in to the fourth book from the Windy City series, which is Play Along. Play Along follows Kai's younger brother Isaiah. Now I feel like they are very polar opposites. While I feel like Kai is very like proper, quiet, calm, and stoic, we have the playful, cheerful, cocky, and just like fun Isaiah. So like the fun brother, I feel like the sunshine brother. And so Play Along follows Isaiah and Kennedy. Kennedy is the new another traveling like a medical team for the baseball team. And in this book, in the beginning of the book, you get introduced to Kennedy, who is, again, she's in the medical field and she finds it hard to find a job. When I said that I jumped in to read Play Along, it's mainly because I read the blurb of the book and it was about a marriage of convenience. Basically, they got drunk in Vegas and they decided to get married in Vegas, and they came home and they just realized like how this was like a bad decision, like we shouldn't have done this and all of that. Isaiah holds it against Kennedy all the time and just like he just like jokes around and just like messes around with her because they are legally married, because they got married in Vegas. And it just really reminded me of that episode of Friends where Ross and Rachel got drunk married in Vegas and was like just trying to figure it out, like how are we going to like annul this marriage and all of that. And I think it was just so funny. And in this book, I feel like it didn't have that much emotional depth to it. It's more of like just like them trying to figure out how they're going to navigate their relationship, because they had to like remain professional at their place of work, but really the whole team and the management already knew like they are now married and all of that. And Isaiah has had a thing for Kennedy for the longest time. We find that out in Caught Up in the third book. We just follow along with how Isaiah and Kennedy are both just like navigating feelings for each other, and Isaiah being just the most amazing character ever. I don't know. It was just really, really cute, and I absolutely enjoyed it. I think, again, one of my top books for 2024, and I think one of my best reads of 2024. And the next book that I have on my list is Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. Now, this book was, I think this was like an indie romance book that came out like a year ago or like 2 years ago. Can't really remember, honestly, didn't keep track of that. And at first, I was very hesitant of starting this book because as much hype as this book got and it had its time, I was very intimidated by this book because I feel like a lot of people either really, really love this book or they couldn't connect to this book. So I was very hesitant of picking it up because if you guys can see, it's on my shelf. It's right here next to Play Along. And it is very thick. I think it was almost 800 pages long. And it also talks about a lot of heavier topics such as abuse, bullying, and all of that. And I buddy read it with my book bestie Amy, and we had a really great time. We went back and forth with our thoughts, and I think like the most memorable thing about reading this book was really me realizing like how much I am actually invested in this. And the thing about this book is that it was set in the early 2000s, and I am a product of the early 2000s, so I absolutely loved all of the vibes. And one of the things that I loved about this book was there was a playlist that Johnny made for Shannon, and the songs in there, some of my favorites are on there, and I can't begin to describe how much I loved it. But the more I read this book, the more I wanted to read Gibbs's books, which is it Saving Seven or is it Taming Seven? I think it's Taming Seven. Can't really remember, but that is the newest release from Chloe Walsh and the newest installment for the Boys of Tommen series, and that is Gibbs's book. But to get to Gibbs's book, we have to go through Joey's book, and I still have to read Keeping 13 after this, and then we have Redeeming 6, Saving 6. I don't know what's the order of that book. We'll figure it out later, but we have to go through Joey's book first. And also, I really, really love Joey in this book as well, how much he's defending his sister and how much he loves his sister and just being the caretaker basically for his sister. And it was just really endearing, and I absolutely loved the book, and now I'm very, very excited to get into the whole entire series next year. Next up, I'm gonna switch it up a little bit and add a little bit of a fantasy into this list, and this is my most recent read, which is One Dark Window. You guys will see this in an upcoming vlog, but I read One Dark Window and I just finished it a couple of days ago. Oh my goodness, the twist, the turns, the magic system, it was unpredictable for me. For some reason, it was so hard for me to understand. The magic system in this world was a little bit hard for me to really like get the idea, but as I was going through the book, like halfway through the book, I finally understood. Like I was like, oh, all right, okay, so this is what's happening, this is what this is why it's like this. So it's kind of like a little bit like of a heavier fantasy read. It's not like the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. It's nothing like Powerless either. The magic system, I feel, is a little bit more complicated. So basically, I'm going to try to describe this book as best I can. Bear with me. So basically, we follow Elspeth, who is one of the people that got infected. So a couple of years before this book takes place, I guess, there were people that were infected by a fever that happened in the kingdom. And basically these people who are infected, they carry out like a magic that will degenerate the non-infected people in the kingdom. And so the king issued that all of the infected people had to be unalived because they were a danger and a threat to the other people that are uninfected. And Elspeth in this book is one of those people that got infected, but her dad actually made her stay with her uncle, which took care of her for the period of time that she was in until she was in this book. She is in the present day of this book, she was 20. And so by the age of 20, there was this, I don't know what happened, I forgot, but she meets this destrier. So I think like it's like the king's guards, or like this, like a special forces. I don't even know what their like what their position is, but he's a destrier. His name is Revan. And so Elspeth joins forces with Revan and his family to find these 12 deck of cards that contains the magic to heal the kingdom and to lift up the mist, that is the disease that is brought to the kingdom. And this 12 deck of cards basically plays the role of healing those that were infected by the disease, by the fever that happened years ago. And so it'll help heal both Elspeth and the other people that were infected by the fever. The thing about this book, actually, everyone that was infected by that fever has magic in them, and the magic is that they have like individual powers. And Elspeth here, she has the power to absorb whatever magic that is on a deck of card. And in this story, she absorbed the magic of the nightmare, and so basically the nightmare's soul lives in her, and this nightmare is the one that like tells her what to do, protects her, but also like brings her to danger and all of that. And so like in this book, there's a lot of conversation, like an inside dialogue with her. It's not herself, but like another being in her mind that lives in her mind, because the nightmare lives in her mind. And she has like this inner dialogue with the nightmare of what she should do and what not. And the thing about this nightmare and the magic that is in her is that the more she asks for the nightmare's help, the more stronger the nightmare gets, and she starts to degenerate. And once she degenerates and she shuts down completely, the nightmare will take over her body and it'll be in control of her body forever. And so that's, again, a lot of twists, a lot of turns in this book. And yeah, I think like I've come to terms with how the magic system goes in this book while I'm like talking about this to you guys. But that's the book. And honestly, I was very, very intrigued when I saw some of my favorite booktubers, content creators started reading this book. And I thought like this time around the year, I think is a very fun time to start reading fantasy books like this, because like I could just cozy up in my room and read this through. And it was really, really great. So again, this book is also a duology. One Dark Window by Rachel Gillick is a duology. It is called the Shepherd King duology. The second book is Two Twisted Crowns, and I'm excited to read that book next year. The next book on my list, I have two more after this, but the next book in my list is one of the most underrated books I've ever came across, and it is Not Here to Stay Friends by Caitlin Hill. So this book is a YA romance. We basically follow two best friends, Liam and Sloan. So Sloan visits Liam for the summer. Liam's dad works as a TV producer where he is producing a new teen reality dating show, and he in this scenario, in this book, her dad loses one of the people that was going to be on the teen dating show, and so he needed one more person to step up to fill in the gap. And so Sloan decides to fill in for Liam's dad. We follow along between Liam and Sloan's friendship, and things start to get a little bit messy and all of that, because she's dating another person in this teen dating show. But it's YA and it's so fun, and we follow along these two characters who are just trying to understand their feelings. A lot of teen drama, so it was very entertaining. While I was really, really sick. If you guys remember, maybe you guys watched this video, but I was really sick when I was reading this book, and I was like in a really rough time, mentally and physically, and so this was one of the books that really entertained me throughout that period of time, and it really helped me bring back life into me. So it was a really fun book, and I absolutely adored this book. And honestly, I would pick up another Caitlin Hill book. So I think I'm going to be searching for another Caitlin Hill book after this. And yeah, it was a really good, great book. I absolutely recommend you guys, if you guys want a fast-paced, fun teen dating drama YA book, no spice. Absolutely recommend Not Here to Stay Friends by Caitlin Hill. This is the second to last book in my list, and it is A Curse for True Love by Stephanie Garber. That is the third book and the last book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. So I read the first two books last year and I absolutely loved it. Read the last book this year because I got it for Christmas last year, and honestly, you guys, I absolutely loved it. There's a debate going on how people didn't really like the ending because it was not satisfying and it was not as people imagined it to end. But for me, I absolutely loved it. It was just like more adrenaline rush, the adventure that Evangeline and Jax go through, especially from Evangeline's point of view, because this book was like very Evangeline centered, and I absolutely loved it. And the ending really was just like a revelation of some sorts to me. It was really good. I think, like, yeah, if you guys have read the book and you guys know the ending, and the revelation and the ending really hit, and I absolutely loved the moral of the story. Really, the moral of the story of the book, absolutely amazing. Absolutely loved it. Close out, one of my favorite books this year, and I've recently finished reading this book as well, and it is a novel love story by Ashley Poston. As I've said for Binding 13, Magnolia Parks, A Curse for True Love, people are really divided in the middle between they really love a novel love story or they just really don't like it, because I understand if people don't really like a novel love story, but I'm more towards how much I really like it. It was very good. And the thing about reading book is that I never put my expectations on how much I can relate to a character or how realistic this is. I'm just here for a really good time, that's it. And a novel love story, I feel like it was a really great book. I absolutely loved it, and the concept was amazing, which the concept alone really sold me, because I was excited to start a book about a girl who loves books and gets immersed into, literally lived out a couple of days in her favorite book series. And I was just thinking, if that were to happen to me, honestly, if that were to happen to me, I would love to be immersed to the Chestnut Spring series. That is my favorite series as of now. But yeah, basically that's the premise of the book. She gets immersed into the book series that she loves, and she finds out the endings and like see how the characters are doing in their lives and all of that. And it's just so fun to read. Absolutely whimsical, absolutely cozy. The atmosphere and everything was just amazing for the book. It was literally the right book at the right time, and I absolutely loved the book. Those are all of my favorite books from 2024. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments if you guys want to share some of your favorite books of 2024. We can talk about it in the comments. We can have a chat and all of that. And I hope you guys found some book recommendations from this video. If you haven't read some of these books, I would love to know if you guys one day decided to read them. And yeah, that's it for Bookmas Day 1. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Goodbye.